Hello, everybody, and it's time to talk about the UFC once again, doing the thing back at the Apex. This card kind of is, this card is remarkably uninteresting, but it does promise some violence. So, I guess it depends on what hat I'm wearing. Am I going to enjoy some fights on this card? Quite probable. Am I going to, did I find any of them super interesting to break down? Not really. There was maybe one exception, the Stephanie Luciano versus Sam Hughes fight. That one I had some hemming and hawing on, some thoughts, some ideas, some different versions of that fight that could happen that was interesting. But like when the highlight of a card, analytically speaking, breakdown speaking, is Stephanie Luciano versus Sam Hughes, you've gone wrong, at least from that department. But there will be some good action, and here's hoping. So, a couple of quick notes. There is no pop filter on this microphone right now. I don't know where it went. It has developed legs, it has developed sentience, and it has walked off somewhere. So I will have to find it in the apartment and get it on there. But at this point, I was like, let's get this out, let's get this done. Also, I'm messing with the volumes on the microphone a little bit because, as I think I revealed in a prior episode, I had to do a complete reset of my computer. So as a result, there are still some things that are being balanced out. So hopefully the sound quality here is not suffering too much. I listened to my last episode and it was not good. So obviously I need to find the right settings. But anyways, there we go. Let's get done. Let's get to this Apex card. Let's kick it in. Also, I have a really bad throat infection right now. But Apex card. Usual reminder, I'm going to be talking about the bets I'm going to be making here. I'm going to be talking about the betting odds. I'm going to be talking about information that can lead you to making a winning bet. That being said, my stance on betting has always been the same, and it will always be the same. It is not a path to financial freedom. It is not a way to replace your job. It is not something you should be trying to do professionally when it comes to MMA. Why? This sport is too volatile. This sport is too chaotic. This sport is frankly too poorly regulated to realistically touch with a 10-foot pole on that level of betting. So throw a little bit of money around, sprinkle in some extra excitement, and go with it. That is my advice. All right. Main event is a rematch between Marvin Vettori and Roman Dolidze from 2023, I believe. I may have the year wrong. It might have been 2022. Anyways. I'm picking Vettori. Why am I picking Vettori? The same reasons I picked him for the prior time and the same reasons that he won the fight with. He works at a higher pace than Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze is a guy who is remarkably good about game planning around like a single weakness that he can break. I remember the Leonardo Staropoli fight where he was just like, Staropoli can't get out of the clinch. I'm just going to hold him there. But realistically, against a competent opponent, he's not going to out game plan them. He's not going to change anything that realistically brought last fight. He is still going to be dangerous because he hits really hard and has like dynamic offense. He has the ability to hit some interesting submissions and stuff. So like there are ways for him to win the fight that would not surprise me. But despite Marvin Vettori looking pretty bad against Jared Cannonier and coming off of I want to say 20-month layoff. Am I right? Yep. 20-month layoff. Marvin Vettori is still theoretically the guy. Like, he's 31 years old. I don't want to see him be a shell of his former self at 31. And I don't think Dolidze is going to really do anything like when it comes to adapting. He's going to go out there and try to do kind of the same thing, which is not be very good at dictating the range of any fight or any opponent that he faces and getting jabbed up a lot as a result. Like a lot. So Vettori by decision, he is the favorite, minus 148 to minus 172, plus 124 to plus 135. Honestly, that could be longer. I'm going to be betting on Vettori, so let's move on. Elizu Zaleski versus Chidi Njokuani. This fight does tickle my action fighter bones, and I'm looking forward to it. That being said, it's always inherently hard to figure out a Chidi fight because he has all the physical dangerous tools to win basically any fight you can think of. He's huge for 170 at 6'4", 80-inch reach. Or 6'3", 80-inch reach. It's ridiculous. The man has a 205 height and reach. Fights at 185 and 170 predominantly. And yeah, he's exceptionally dangerous. He's fast, he's explosive, he hits hard, he's very strong. His skill set, his technical abilities everywhere are actually not bad, but he has no ability to initiate a fight that he wants, and he has no ability to deny the opponent the fight they want. So he will fight what the other guy wants to do. That includes, like, for example, when he gets into like clinch heavy exchanges with wrestlers and stuff, which is a bad idea, but he has no way of stopping it. He has no way of preventing it. So Zaleski will get to define the fight. It's whether he can win it or not. And he is getting up there in age, 38 years old, but he doesn't seem to be aging really all that much. Like, if you look at his recent fights, even the losses, they aren't really any different from the guy that showed up in the UFC and started having fun matches. Like, realistically, it's just not. He still seems to be that guy. He still seems to be action violence inherent. A guy who can wrestle, a guy who can grapple, a guy who can strike, and do it all. And I'm trusting him to pick up the win here over Chidi and Jaquani. Decision's a possibility. TKO either way would not be a surprise. I do think that Chidi at 170 is just not really a great idea, because as much as he is that much bigger, the fact that he really doesn't make use of his size in any real way means I think he was better off being a faster middleweight than a still fast welterweight, but not as fast welterweight, and a bigger welterweight. So Zaleski by decision is my pick. Minus 192 to minus 205 on him. Plus 148 to plus 170 on Chidi. Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holobaugh. Listen, I like Kurt Holobaugh. I love him. He's a violent dude, action fighter, tries really, really, really hard out there every time. But every time he is taking a step up against somebody who is really high-end athletic, and Alexander Hernandez is, he has lost. So, do I have my misgivings about Hernandez? Oh yeah, I think they are incredibly well documented at this point. He is a shallow fighter by any metric. His ability to adapt, to change how he's fighting in his game plan, it doesn't exist. He is just wrestle boxer, 100% speed all the time, and he can fade late in fights. But I don't think he'll fade early enough for Holobaugh to win a decision, and I don't think Holobaugh will be able to find the answers for him early. So I'm going to go with Hernandez by decision, because Holobaugh generally loses by submission rather than by TKO, and I just don't see Hernandez doing that. In fact, when was the last time I saw Hernandez submit somebody? Have I ever? He has a rear naked choke in 2016 against Chris Presero. I don't think I've ever seen that fight. He's got 2 rear naked chokes, basically. I don't see that working. Like Holobaugh's stoppage losses are to Shane Burgos by armbar. He did get knocked out by Ronnie Barcelos, so I guess it's on the table. But nah, he is a chronically durable guy, so I see this probably going the distance. I just don't think he has the physical acumen, the requirements to actually pick up the W here. And Hernandez is a minus 220 to minus 225 favorite. Holobaugh plus 154 to plus 175. Damone Blackshear, Cody Gibson. 2 super tall bantamweights, 5'10" each, 72.2 inches of reach for Blackshear, 71 for Cody Gibson. Basically, this just doesn't have the hallmarks of Cody Gibson's wins usually, because his 3 keys to victory are his frame. That's not in the place here. His wrestling and his pace. Blackshear is probably not the technical wrestler than Gibson is, but he is a way better athlete. And his pace, Blackshear fights at a higher pace. So this will be fun. This will be scrambly. This will be interesting. But as far as like a breakdown standpoint, it's just really, does Blackshear submit Gibson, which can happen, or do we go to decision? Because that's really all that's on the table here. Gibson generally has been submitted by a couple of people. I'm looking at you. Let's see here. Adrian Diaz. I'm looking at Manny Gambirian. Those are both guillotine chokes. So is Ulysses Gomez. Those are all things that I could see Blackshear pulling off. He has a varied submission game, and he's a good scrambler, so like I could see it happening. But I'll get a little bit stingy or a little bit hot and say that indeed he will get the submission against Cody Gibson. He is the favorite. Blackshear by that is minus 450 to minus 500, so there's no betting on that really. And Gibson's plus 333 to plus 370. Tempting, but not touching it. Then we have Dayar Nergozii, I think is how it's pronounced. I could be wrong. Against Brinson Hibero. Brinson Hibero is bad. Like, he is really, really bad. Like, he's 6'3", 81-inch reach, which is phenomenal. He has the build and the athletic ability, but he is like the walking embodiment of Brazilian beach bully. Like, there's just nothing there. Like, he hits hard, he's fast, he's coordinated, but like there's just nothing. There's no structure to the game. There's no idea of what he wants to do beyond I guess the Kyle Machado fight where he just kind of stayed away and tried to play a long-range game, and it worked for him, and he could do the same thing here, but Nergozii does not have the same slow-footed nature that Machado has. He's not a former heavyweight. He is a little bit low pace for my taste. He is a little bit too deliberate for my taste. I have concerns, but he is a hard hitter. He's supposed to be a decent wrestler. I can't find a fight where he really shows off his wrestling. If anyone's got one, please let me know. Over on the Discord, over on the Twitter, either way, feel free. But I'll take the word of the commentary for it that they bring it up enough that I assume he is a capable wrestler. He's from that part of the world as well. So generally speaking, the folk wrestling is pretty strong. And it doesn't really matter because Hibero is not a wrestler. So yeah, I've got Nergozii by TKO. He is a hard hitter. It's just I wish he would be a little bit more paced about it. Pardon me. Odds. Nergozii is minus 350 to minus 400. Hibero's plus 260 to plus 300. Bit weird that Hibero is a smaller underdog than Cody Gibson. Just saying. Kevin Vallejos versus Suwoi Choi, aka Sting. I'll just be calling him Sting for the rest of this because honestly I have a hard time remembering the various similar Korean fighters' names. I'm sorry. I don't care if maybe that makes me a little bit racially insensitive. I don't know, but I always have a hard time. I have a hard time. There's a couple I don't. Chan Sung Jung, Korean Zombie, that sticks in my head. Do Hoi Choi, Korean Superboy, that sticks in my head. But a lot of the other ones, I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're kind of just unremarkable fighters in a lot of ways. Like the Korean scene seems to be like produce reasonably well-rounded guys who are just competent, like highly, highly competent, but not super good at anything right now. Previously, they did produce some specialists with Stun Gun Kim and obviously Zombie, but I don't know. It just seems to be a very generalist scene right now. Anyways, I'm taking Vallejos, whose name I'm probably also butchering because I'm bad at that. I will say the odds here are stupid. Minus 549 to minus 625 on Kevin, and Sting at plus 370 to plus 440. That is ridiculous. That is stupid. But Kevin does seem to have a good pace, brings kind of everything. It's just that he's been a bit of a can crusher, but he went the distance with John Silva on the Dana White Contender Series. He's only 23 years old, so there's time to progress. There's reason to be hyped about the future. I just don't know if there's reason to be hyped about the now on this level. And Sting hits really, really hard, and is, like I said, very capable, but he is not durable. Getting rocked hard by like Gavin Tucker and dropped twice by Josh Gulabau and getting knocked out by Michael Trizano. These are not good signs. These are not ideal. So TKO for Kevin V, and I'm staying away from it on a betting line level. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ryan Spawn. Taking Waldo Cortez Acosta by decision. I could see Spawn getting finished. He is fragile, but Waldo Cortez Acosta is a little bit too meat and potatoes, I think, to catch him. Spawn's move to heavyweight, I think, is a bad idea. Now, it might be better for him physically. He's big enough. It's not a size issue. It's not that he doesn't have heavyweight size. He absolutely does. It's just that his entire game revolves around going balls to the walls and basically exploding himself while the other opponent does the same thing, and then he wins, or he just loses against anybody who has like durability and like composure. And it's like heavyweight. Everyone has the durability. I don't know about everyone having the composure, but like they're used to having to go like a longer distance than like the first like 3 minutes. And they don't generally just shove their head into chokes. So Spawn has the physical things to be here if he actually is serious about taking his training seriously, which he keeps threatening to do. maybe he can turn into something at a heavyweight, but like, my dude is 33 years old. That athleticism is going to start fading at some point in the next couple of years. And right now, that's all that's keeping him going. And this is just not really the super athlete division. So, yeah, Cortez Acosta, he's the favorite at minus 163 to minus 180. Spawn plus 130 to plus 150. Just rolling on. Su Young Yu and AJ Cunningham. This is another ridiculous betting odds. In fact, the next two are. Yu is a minus 625 to minus 715 favorite. Cunningham plus 430 to plus 500. Now, let me be clear. AJ Cunningham is bad. He has a athlete bully style without the athleticism to actually back it up. That is his regional game. His regional game is relatively low output, kind of just like shove you around with his presence and like, you know, don't really work at a high pace, don't really work at any kind of like creativity or whatever. And it works against like really bad athletes. And that's not going to happen in the UFC. Reminds me a lot of Connor Matthews, actually. But the problem with Su Young Yu is he is not that good either. He is not terribly high paced. His major thing is that he is actually pretty good in the clinch at working like a judo, clinch wrestling, dirty boxing game. And I don't know, it just doesn't fill me with any real like hope. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think AJ Cunningham is getting punished a little bit too harshly off of the Ludwig Klein loss. Keep in mind, he's a bantamweight, and Klein fights at lightweight. I don't know. It's a bit insane. I'm going with Su Young Yu by decision, but like realistically, these odds are just way too far apart. And it's the same thing with Josias Musasa versus Carlos Vera. Again, I'm not a believer in Vera. He's kind of a guard pulling, like sort of work sweeps and leg locks kind of guy. Like it's not good. It's not a style that like meshes well with like a lot of success at a UFC level. But Musasa is coming out of the African MMA scene, and not even the South African MMA scene. I mean like Africa, MMA scene. That has produced nothing historically. He's a good athlete. I appreciate that he makes like decent mid-fight adjustments. I appreciate that he is fast. He has all the hallmarks to be really, really good. But he's not with like elite coaching right now. He is the exact type of guy that the Uriah Faber strategy of like pay for his stuff, give him a place to live, and get him in your gym would absolutely be the right call with. But I don't know. I'm sorry. Like the only guys who should be like -7, -910, -910 favorites should be guys who are either like really, really proven, like really elite, or fighting complete bums. And Carlos Vera is not a bum. He's probably not a UFC level fighter, but he is not a bum. He is durable. He is a good grappler. There just isn't really a lot to get to that grappling that is safe. So I do have Musasa by decision. And this opened at -500, so bettors kept betting it up to -910. That's insane. Sam Hughes versus Stephanie Luciano. I am going to say this, that Luciano has the higher ceiling of these two. She has the athletic ability to be a pretty good strawweight. She has good size, good power, good strength. She's 5'6". Yeah, 5'6", 6.5 inch reach. Yeah, she is more than acceptable. But I haven't seen her really beat anyone good. And like Talita Alencar is too small to be a strawweight and not really functional in an MMA setting. She is a good grappler, but she is not functional as an MMA fighter and probably should be an atomweight. And Hughes, not the greatest athlete, but she is a good wrestle boxer, puts a pace on people. She's scrappy as all hell. She will take a beating. See the Pierre Rodriguez fight, see the Tisha Pennington fight, see the Luana Pinheiro fight. But yeah, those are all, at least right now, far better fighters than Luciano. So I'll go with the scrappy veteran, Sam Hughes, to find a way to implement her game, her pace, and so on. And also, come on, I had to pick an underdog at some point on the card. Hughes by decision. She is the dog at +190 to +200. Luciano -230 to -265. Andre Lima versus Daniel Barras is a fight that I'm really, really hoping is good, because Barras is a wild man who fights at an insane pace and with no regard for his own safety. So hopefully he's going to come out there and put it on Lima, because Lima, when left to his own devices, is a really slow-paced, like counter fighter, overly considered striker, and I'm not here for it, but I'm not here for it at the same time. So here's the hope that Barres' pace brings out a really more aggressive, more busy version of Lima, and this is a really, 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 really fun fight. But I do have Lima by decision, and the odds are a little bit too wide for me at minus 380 to minus 430 on Lima and plus 300 to plus 310 on Barres. For the record, people have often said, why do you object to somebody being the favorite if you think that they're going to win? Well, as a general rule, I do not object to anyone being the favorite if I think they're going to win. But the level in which people are willing to bet money on that person winning is indicative of the odds. That's the odds. The problem is not, for example, that I think Musasa is going to win and he shouldn't be the favorite. It's just he shouldn't be a minus 900 favorite. No one should be putting money on that. No one should be betting on someone in that matchup at minus 500 to the point where it gets up to minus 910. That's my point. Josie Nunez versus Priscilla Cachoeira. No idea what Cachoeira is doing here. Again, I guess on the bright side, it's at 135, so hopefully her weight cutting issues won't come into play. But the woman is a travesty of a professional fighter. She is bad PR. She is not good. She is foul heavy. She is just bad. And it's sad because she's actually pretty durable and stuff. So realistically, it's not that she's a bad athlete. She could be something. It's just she's either got terrible coaching or is uncoachable, take your pick, and has completely wasted her career. And now at 36 years of age, she's going to get probably decision by Josie Nunez, a 5'2" bantamweight, who is not great and is 5'2" and that has its own limitations. Don't get me wrong. It also points to certain, disciplinary issues with her own weight that she can't make even 125. But Nunez has decent form as a striker. She hits pretty well on the counter. She has a considered game, whereas Cachoeira just does not. Cachoeira is random violence, face punch, go. And sometimes she can overwhelm people. She's picked up UFC wins. I can't take that away from her. But there's just no real reason to pick her in against UFC level opposition. It's yeah. You did beat Jillian or you did beat it wasn't Robertson. It was Ariane Lipsky. Yeah, she overwhelmed Ariane Lipsky and knocked her out. But otherwise, it's Shannon Dodson, Gina Mazzani, and Ji Young Kim, and then losing to Jillian Robertson, Luana Carolina, Molly McCann, Valentina Shevchenko in a beating of a lifetime, Miranda Maverick and Jasmine Jasudavicius in another beating of a lifetime. So hey, maybe she could absorb Nunez's punishment for long enough to pick up a win here, but I wouldn't bet on it. This is a close betting line. Minus 180 to minus 195 on Nunez, plus 140 to plus 155 on Cachoeira. I will be putting a small bet on Nunez. And in the opening, we have Eunice Dubin versus Carly Judice. Carly Judice is a weird one because she's had two incredibly good performances against Ernesta Caracate and Gabrielle Fernandez, but lost both of them. And it's always a risk when you're overvaluing somebody off of losses and just not wins, because Carly Judice is a 3-2 fighter, and her wins in those three fights are, well, they look like the first three fights of a career. 1-8, 1-3, 3-3. The best fighter of the bunch is Monica Medina, who was 3-3 coming into the fight. Now it's 3-5. So it is one of those things where it's I don't know. How, is it just that you look good in losing efforts, or will you actually turn this into form? And that is the question. She has great pace. She has, I would say, reasonable technique as both a clinch wrestler and a striker for somebody who does not come from a combat sports background. She's a softball player, if I recall correctly, and has done really, really well 5 fights into her career. But there are questions. It just comes down to there are questions. We have not seen her win against UFC level opposition, and that's a big question mark. That being said, the exact same things can be said for Dubin. Dubin has got a couple of knockouts, but they're over. Literally, she fought no one who had professional fights until she got on Contender Series against Shannon Clark. And not to speak ill of a fellow Canadian, but Shannon Clark's career is padded. to say the least, with like not very good fighters. So she went out there and got the knockout. Like she seems to have power. She seems to have dexterity. She seems to have flexibility. She seems to have like all the physical wants. But like, I honestly just haven't even seen enough of her striking to like say that it's good or if it's bad. It's just against really, really overmatched opponents. So yeah, I'm fascinated by this fight, but it's like the exact type of fight that should be happening before either of these girls get to the UFC. Like that's kind of thing, or like this should be the fight on Contender Series, I guess. Instead of the, well, I guess I can't complain about Carly Giudice's Contender Series fight. It was against Ernesta Caricate. That is phenomenal. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's a bit weird. I'm gonna go with Giudice. I just inherently trust more the amount of time I've seen her fight, whereas Dubin, all the fights I can find of her are first round knockouts against fighters who are just not very good. And it's like, maybe you can do that at the UFC level. Maybe. But I don't know how I can trust it. Like, your longest fight is a fight that I have not managed to find that was 4 minutes and 51 seconds against someone named Mavit Torres, who was 0-0 coming to the fight and fought once after that to a draw with Alejandra Perez. Seems to be retired now. So, yeah. There's just nothing there. Like it's fun. It's fun looking. It's fun looking. Apparently she went to the third round, Mavit Torres. Okay. I need to dug up 300 Sparta 29 fight card, which I imagine I'm going to have a hard time finding from Lima, Peru. Promotional links, Facebook. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they do some streaming somewhere. I don't know, but I've not seen this fight. Wonder, is there anyone else from the previous scene that was on this card that has made it to the UFC? Nah, it doesn't look like it. All right. Anyways, point is, there's a lot of unknown factors here, but I am going to trust the pace, the seeming durability of Carly Giudice, the seeming athleticism of Carly Giudice, and her general scrappiness to pick up a win here by decision. She is a minus 350 to minus 400 favorite, which means I can't really bet on her at that point. And Dubin is plus 260 to plus 290. That is the card. And this was one of my shorter podcasts. Probably a statement on the card quality. Probably also a statement on the fact that my throat is sore and I want to stop talking. So there you go. Check out the links down below. And if my throat starts to clear up by the weekend, you'll get a recap of this card. Otherwise, probably not. And I'll see you next time.